Hey friends, welcome to week 2. This is From the Ashes, and today we're going to be looking at fear and telling it to get in the back seat. Last week was week 1, and we looked at vision, putting yourself in the picture. And if you recall, perhaps you heard it, perhaps you didn't. Here's the summary. The idea is to vision. What is your ideal life for yourself? I know I was just at the dog park with my dog, little sidekick there, Jasper, and ran into this woman who I met there a month ago at the full moon, and she told me about this full moon ceremony. And when we were there, we were just talking about how crazy the last 3 years have been. We have all been through something, and there's been so much fear. There's been so much fear. And I think that fear serves a purpose, but we get to choose how we're going to respond to it. And so tonight is really about helping guide you through some fear, anxiety that might be traveling around with you that maybe you don't want to carry into this next phase, because the energy that's happening right now in 2023 is the biggest energy that we've had. And I say energy, I'm talking about the planets and the stars and how they're all moving. Lots of astrologers that you can check out on that, but just general idea is that the energy is as big as it was in 2020. That was the last time we had this type of energy. And March, holy cow, there's gonna be some amazing stuff happening, big stuff. So a lot of the things that we've been going through, we're being called to address and look at, and do you want to do something differently? So going back to last week, putting yourself in the picture, the invitation was to find a picture of yourself doing something that just lights you up, that is a passion of yours, something that you absolutely love to do, and post it somewhere where you can see it so that you can remind yourself that that's the type of living that that you want to be doing more of, right? I mean, life is precious. We saw that. We saw so many people perish to this illness called COVID, and perhaps we had loved ones, perhaps we lost loved ones, and we're all recognizing that life is fragile. And so what is it that you want to do with this one wild and precious life, right? You've heard that before, but the question remains, what do you want to do? How do you want to respond to what the last 3 years have been for you? And so that's what From the Ashes is really all about. It's about looking at your story and figuring out, what am I going to carry forward? What's the narrative I'm going to carry forward? And what am I going to leave behind? What's not necessary? And then when I have a vision for myself about what I want to create in this world, then the question is, what's holding me back? What's holding me back? And the answer is usually fear. So tonight, I want to invite you to first listen to from the album that we've been listening to, from Fia, Made of Stars, the song Shine. I know I've talked about the song Shine before, and I probably will again, but today in particular, it's going to serve as a really beautiful introduction to, you'll understand why I chose it, I guess. Introduction to fear. You'll understand why I chose it after I tell you this story. So just be thinking about fears that you might have, what kind of things might have been coming up just recently or in general, or an ongoing theme. As I tell you that, it's going from last week to 22, when I really had to do a abundance mindset shift. I have always been, or I had been a stay-at-home mom for a good part of my adult life. I had put my teaching career on hold. And then in 2018, I stepped back into my teaching career, and because I loved the job, always have loved the job. I love teaching adolescents. I have the privilege of teaching 11th and 12th grade students, and they are just some of the most precious and wonderful human beings. I've got a couple of them at home as well, teenagers, and they're just these amazing spirits on this brink of life between childhood and adulthood. And I've just absolutely loved my job, my profession. It's what I've been doing since I was in high school. I've been learning French and teaching French. And in 2020, when I got divorced and became a single mom on a teacher salary, it got very scary for me financially. I had given my financial power away. I did not know really anything. I'm embarrassed to say, but it's real. I chose as a young woman that was something that I didn't want to know about, and I had somebody I trusted to take care of my finances. And so when I divorced and started understanding a lot of the expenses it takes to run a household, it became hard to be a public educator. This is not going to be a surprise to anybody, but they don't get paid shit. We don't get paid for the amount of effort, love, work, time, and attention that we put into our job. Particularly, can I give a shout out to all the teachers who taught through computers, who sat alone in their rooms and tried to create community amongst a very frightened adolescents or younger, or whatever age you were teaching, tried to make meaningful connections. And that was rough. Distance learning was so rough as an educator. And then coming out of the pandemic has been crazy hard. When we did the hybrid, and sometimes half of our kids were in person and half were on the computer, and then we, came back in person and were masked. And I teach French. Teaching French like this, ce n'est pas facile. You can't understand anything. I wasn't able to do my job. And on top of not being able to do my job well was this financial pressure. And what was really hard with that financial pressure was recognizing that I had a limit to how much I can earn. Even though I have my master's degree in education, and even though I've been teaching for quite a number of years, there's only certain amount of money that I'm going to be able to make as an educator. And I will know what I'll make next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that. And it was limiting my ability to be financially abundant. And so, before I get to the next part, I invite you, if you're local, even if you're not local, I invite everybody to read Jen Sincero's book, You're a Badass with Making Money, or At Making Money. We're going to do, that's the Soul Growth Book Club choice of this month, and it is going to be on April 2nd, live in Boise. So if you're in the Boise area, come. We just gather right here in this room. I call this the Goddess Room. I guess it's obvious why. And so we're going to be meeting, we're going to discuss this book. It is all about your mindset around money. And it fell into my hands at the perfect time last year. And it has just been life-changing. So with all that said and done, I'm going to say that I think I did one of the most courageous things of my life today. And I hope I'm going to cry. I resigned at the end of the school year from my position as the French teacher, the DPCP French teacher at Sage International School, and the diploma coordinator. So what's hard is leaving behind an incredible community, but knowing that my worth and my value and what I could give and what I can receive is limited by my profession of choice. And I hope that one day we can change how the teachers get compensated for the work that they do in this country. I hope we can make a shift in how we approach education overall in this country. But today, that's not what's being taken on. I do have some inspiring friends who are truly passionate about that type of work on behalf of our children to create a better educational environment for them. But I left my profession today, and what's crazy is I have no idea how I'm going to replace that income, what it's going to be, but I have a dream. And my dream is to start a retreat center someday. My dream is to run retreats and lead mindset workshops and spiritual retreats. And so I know that if I really want to do that, and I believe that that dream was planted in me, then I need to be fearless, and I need to be true to myself, and I need to remember that this life is precious and it's meant to be lived with joy. I say, as my dog, I'm going to try to get a picture of Jasper here. Seriously, that's joy right there. Huh, Jasper? Yeah, he just got a plastic flower pot. He's going to make some noise. So let me wrap this up. The exercise that I am going to recommend, the writing exercise for this, if you're rewriting your story with me, and you have a journal somewhere, is to, hang on, I'm going to set this down and pull this out, is to write a letter from fear. And I was introduced to this during the pandemic, honestly, on the weekend that my divorce was finalized. My good friend was visiting, and I had thought I was going to be able to see Rob Bell and Elizabeth Gilbert live over my birthday back in 2020, which is in May. And it just kept getting postponed, and then it ended up being this virtual conference. And at this virtual conference, Elizabeth Gilbert led a session on that included this task that I'm going to recommend. Task sounds like terrible. This idea, this offering, this gift, this writing prompt. There we go. And it's to write a letter from fear. And I recommend you start it with this simple sentence starter, and then I am going to read you mine. I think I wrote one this morning. Yep, I sure did. So it just starts very simply. Dear, fill in your name. This is your fear talking, and this is I want you to know. Okay, so that's the starting prompt, and then I'm going to read what I wrote this morning. So again, dear, write your name. This is your fear talking, and this is what I want you to know. I haven't read this since I wrote it this morning before I was fully awake. It's something I do in the morning, is I just get up and write for about a half an hour. And I knew I wanted to talk about this today, so I wanted to see what would just kind of come up in the sleep state. So here we go. And I don't have my glasses with me, but here we go. Dear Andrea, this is your fear talking, and this is what I want you to know. I'm afraid that you're walking away from an ideal job to follow your gut instinct, and it feels unsubstantiated. I'm afraid that you won't be able to support yourself and your family. I'm afraid that no one will show up to any classes or retreats that you offer, or even worse, that nobody cares what you have to say. I'm afraid that you're chasing a dream that will never come true. I'm afraid that you're deceiving yourself. I'm afraid that you may become really big and actually become wildly successful. I'm afraid that you'll be judged by others. I'm afraid to let people down. Your juniors, Sage Fort, the DP program, French students. I'm afraid that you're totally replaceable. I'm afraid to be so courageous. Sincerely, your fear. I wrote a little note after that there was no fear around some other areas of my life where there's been a lot of fear lately. So clearly I was preparing for, talking to my administration today and letting them know my decision and resign. So that's my spiel on fear. Talking about doing something courageous. So my other offering, take home, was that was like a woo for me. Besides writing a letter from fear, is then perhaps the next day or two writing a response to it. And this week's episode is called Fear Get in the Back Seat. So the response that I have to all of that is I could look at those fears and perhaps I could write them down on an index card and put my fear, like, what did it say? I just see this one. I'm afraid that nobody cares what you have to say. I could write that on one side, and then on the other side of the index card, come up with an affirmation of that, I am sharing my truth, and it will be well received or necessary, or it will touch one person in the right way at the right time. Just something where you could take a fear or a limiting belief and you can flip it and you could see the truth, because fear is not reality. Fear is our ego, or our most, scared childhood self, our youngest spirit of our being living inside us, that is saying, hey, what we're doing right now is safe. I know this. I know how to respond. I know what I can expect. But if we do that scary thing, like, I don't feel safe, and I don't like the change. Change is scary. I don't want to change. So, and that's okay. Some people don't want to change. In fact, a lot of people don't. So, no, there's no judgment there. But if you feel like what we've just been through is more than just an illness, a disease that spread across the planet, but it fundamentally changed you at your core and who you want to be and how you want to show up in this world, then come on this journey. Write to this letter from fear, then respond to fear. And I encourage you to leave a comment in the sections of this video just about what is something that fear said to you. Share your whole letter if you want, but share something. What has fear said to you, and what have you responded back to fear? What have you said in return? Because I know for a fact, I'm going to go back to Fia's song. Please listen to her song, Shine. If you're still listening to this, you want to do yourself a favor and listen to Shine by Fia. And she speaks exactly about this. Like, I do not know what's on the road ahead, but I'm confident because I know that I am co-creating with this abundant universe that wants to love and bless me. In fact, right now, if you've looked at the night sky, perhaps over the last week, you've seen these two planets hanging out with the moon. That is Venus and Jupiter, and they are the planets of love and abundance. There are other things. There are wisdom, there's beauty, there's creativity, but there's a lot that's happening in healing. They're also up there with Chiron, the wounded healer, in the sign of Aries, or which is just beautiful energy. It's time for new beginnings. It's time for healing and starting over. So how do you want to proceed? Do you want fear to be driving you forward, or do you want fear to get in the back seat? That's anybody who wants fear in the back seat. Keep on showing up with me on this journey. And another thing over the next week, before we meet in week 3 for the Land of Enchantment, is to do something fearless. Capture it and share it on social media. And you could put Fearlessly Authentic on there. Let Love Rise, please. And maybe Sisterhood of the Moon or From the Ashes. But be fearlessly authentic. I would love to see what you're doing. And I would love to be a cheerleader along the way for you. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And I want to give a special shout out. I'm wearing this beautiful mala from Burma, from Wanderlust. What is it? Wanderlust Reiki and Malas, or Malas and Reiki. I met her last night at a beautiful workshop led by Tammy Reed to learn a little bit more about human design. And I've been wearing it all day, just thinking about the energy and the women that were at that room. Kim Harrison of Life Coach for Dreamers. Just beautiful things are happening right now. And I want to thank my sisterhood, my tribe. You guys know who you are. Goddesses, you know who you are. And let's invite more onto our journey. So come with us. Let's have some fun. Let's play. Let's put fear in the back seat and step forward into our most fearlessly authentic lives. Thank you for being here.